Hi everyone, my name is Tina Dushar. Welcome to my YouTube channel. On this channel, I channel celebrities who have crossed over to the other side and do their soul contract diagram for you, review it, bring through some messages that they wanted to share with you. And I'm eager to get started. It is close to our Independence Day here in the US. And I also want to mention that these are timeless videos. The messages are meant for everyone, and if you're drawn to them, there will be something in it for you. They are working through me to bring messages that they want to share to the collective. So I am eager to bring through John F. Kennedy. He was our president at one time, very, very popular president. He was the only politician I remember growing up because we had a picture of him hanging in our house. And I didn't come from a very political family. So that tells you a little bit about the power that he had, how he connected with people. And so I will walk through his chart. He has a very soft and strong energy, and it was real. It wasn't extremely upbeat. It was kind of this quiet strength about him when he was coming through. And he did have a lot of messages. You know, there's a lot going on in our politics here, and he had some insights on that. So I'm going to share my screen right away so that we can get started by looking at his diagram. Here it is, and I kind of liked this picture. I was drawn to it. I buy my pictures from Shutterstock for these readings, and he was really kind of in a contemplative type mood, and that is the energy that he comes through. He comes through with a lot of integrity. I know he had his struggles here in this incarnation that we're going to talk about, and so, and as everybody, if you don't know, he was assassinated. And that was on November 22nd, 1963. That was before I was born. So as you can see, his birthday is 1917. I didn't realize he was born. That's quite a while. It's been quite a long time. So he was the 35th president. And like I said, he was assassinated while he was campaigning for his second term in Dallas, Texas. So we're going to talk about all of that because, as you know, if I've talked a little bit in my other videos that I do believe we create our own reality. It's driven by the soul contract and this numerology, which emanates out to the reality, the vibrations that you chose to experience. And of course, we're given free will, and we have our egos to contend with here. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. The ego plays a big part of that. It's I don't consider it a negative. I consider everything a positive. It's just how you want to perceive your reality. So again, I do always have in the description box below, I'll put down my introductory video to the soul contract diagram, which is what you see here. And that gives you, that video just tells you how I come up with the numbers, how they get placed on the chart, and some of the history and the background to the soul contract. I always talk about the physical side of your chart first, and that's this downward facing triangle. There's these two interlocking triangles that make up the Star of David. And then your spiritual triangle points to the heavens. We start off with emanating out to the reality, the physical vibrations. The numbers that you see here that are in the chart are carry certain vibrations, and they carry certain manifestations that you can create. And this is how your reality is created. So I was surprised by a little bit by this chart, a little bit. And then once I listened more to what President Kennedy had to say, then it kind of made more sense to me. He's a dominant 9, and he has 9s in physical karma, which is a real tough karma to have. And it starts off with, this is the most powerful vibration. He has 2 sets of these in his chart, which makes him a dominant 9, and those will play out throughout his life. They'll be very, very strong energies. He when it's in its karmic phase, as I always talk about, this is our opportunities for growth. And so these are challenges that you are met with throughout your life. As you activate these talents, it helps you to work through your karma, and then you can meet your goals. And so we have 2 sets of goals, your physical goal and your spiritual goal. And then you have your overall soul growth that you came here to experience. And that is this blended energy that he chose here, which is this beautiful 13-4, which is a Christ consciousness energy that I wasn't surprised to see in his chart, since he was a very positive, believed in unity, was very idealistic in his approach. Now, let's get back to the 9s, because that's all about power and strength, resistance. And in a karmic phase, it can be very disempowering. It's all about misuse of power, destruction of people. It can be reflected of in a past life where you didn't use your power properly. So you're basically given a little bit of this disempowerment here that will play out for you in parents and how they deal with you. And we want to talk about his family, because he was one of 9 children, a wealthy family, and they were very, very political, driven very much by his father. And there really wasn't a lot of discussion about what they wanted personally. They knew, and John knew that his father wanted him to go into politics. This happened more after the death of his older brother, because his older brother was the one really they were looking at as president, but they were all pushed into politics, and they were very controlled. He had an older sister that had some issues with her behavior, and they ended up having doctors give her a lobotomy, which basically left her very dysfunctioned and very mentally impaired. And the children did not know about that. They did not know what happened to her. This was a secret that was kept. So I was getting, we talk about masks that people wear. And so they were not, it wasn't about their happiness and a nurturing environment. This was about very much driven by how they were viewed and their behavior. So this would be very much a very disempowering, in some sense, being raised under that type of structure. So you have to be careful too if you have these in your karma, because you could be giving your power away to a certain religious belief. He was raised Catholic, very, very strong religious connotations there, a lot of fear and shame. I have no judgment on religions. I was myself raised Catholic, so I understand that religion and just some of the underlying self-worth issues and fear that's used. And so I get an understanding of some of the disempowerment that early on he would have felt, and trying to, as he grew up, going into the Navy would have helped him start to become independent, taking your power back, those types of things. Because when you have these 9s, it's really meant for you to transmute these into power and strength and integrity, and taking your power back in a very much with integrity, and being careful about destruction of people, destroying people. And this can even be self-destruction. So he has these wonderful, wonderful talents in this 15-6 here, which is really about feeling spirit, God's source on the inside and the outside. It really propels you to an ideal. It's also very much about freedom, very idealistic. It's a very high frequency energy. And this would help him to, it gives him this great ability to filter what is your truth. And this would help him in knowing the right action and course to take. It's a very creative energy. The 6s are all about, the 15s on the negative side can be, you can be doing too much, and you can have some insecurities there that you would have to overcome. I don't think that was too much of an issue in his case. But the 6s were also very much gave him this great focus, grounded energy. This energy gives him a great communication. I don't think that he was a great orator, as we all know. He gave some wonderful speeches that are very well known and are still played today that people look to. And his mind with these energies would always be looking to expand. So the 6s, he was all about truth, expanding his creativity. It's a wonderful number for people who are in the creative arts and music. So, the fact that he was in politics I find very interesting. But like I said, I don't know that he had a choice in that. And he's saying that what he was telling me was that he never gave it a second thought, because he just knew that that was what was expected to him. So he wasn't like wanting other choices. He just knew that from being raised as a young child with some of these things in mind. So I always do for creative writing messages directly from the celebrities while I'm speaking with them, before I get online, trying to connect with their energy and getting a feel for the messages, the overall energy of the messages that these readings are taking. And this one's all about wearing those masks that others basically put on us. So he's saying, pay attention to the masks you are wearing for others. And he really wants you to think about what you do and what you choose to do, and is it really for your highest good or someone else's? Because it's very important for us to always stay centered, and not in a selfish way, but it's very important here for us to find our purpose and work through our charts to grow as much as we can in this incarnation. So sometimes other people, and this can be part destiny, but we do have free will. So it's about gaining your independence, really knowing what you want, not doing for others. So this 15-6, I really love this energy for him, because that really helps with this disempowerment, I feel, and really helped him so that he could start to work on the goals. This is what gets you up in the morning. I do want to talk a little bit, when you do have, every number has a negative and a positive connotation to it. When you have a number in karma, you will generally get a lot of the negative aspects and experiences drawn to you. And this is meant for you to overcome it and transmute it to their positive form. The talents, you'll start out generally with some of the negative aspects, and then as you learn your lessons and grow from your experiences, become conscious of your behavior, then you will tend to bring in those wonderful physical aspects. I feel very comfortably that he was bringing in a lot of his talents and many of these numbers here by his behaviors, but he was still human and he had his faults. I don't want to put anyone on a pedestal on any of these celebrity readings, because that's what I'm trying to convey to you, is they had their struggles, because we all do. We came here to have certain experiences, and those are meant to aid us in our growth, to integrate our egos, to become more conscious. of the unity of the whole of creation. And to serve, it's part of our growth, it's part of us learning and in our ascension process on the spiritual realm. That's my belief. So these this gave him a lot of a strong will, gave him, the ability to expand. But he had to be careful about taking on too much, having distractions. The sixes can be all about addictions. He was known as a womanizer, so there were some addictions to sex and that attention, that's serving the ego. Obviously, it's not serving a higher purpose, and you have to be careful about that. He was on a lot of medications too. He had a lot of physical problems, so we'll talk a little bit more about that because that's coming from this karmic side as well. And this is directly related to when we are not working through our traumas from our parents, the projections that people put on us from our experiences. If we keep piling those traumas on and we don't heal them, we don't become aware of them and resolve them and mitigate the emotion so that it can be cleared, we get very weighed down. I talking with him, he was very, very weighed down. And whether you want to say the assassination, I believe we create our realities, was part of that. This destruction, this self-destruction from the karmic nines. And it really was kind of instrumental in part of these things that he came here to experience. So he could be very blunt in his communication as well, which would be a negative aspect, meaning that maybe he would not be very nice about what he had to say. But as he, this really became being able to learn those lessons, and then he was able to relate to everyone. People loved him on both sides of the aisle. There was no doubt about that. This is a higher frequency number, but yet they can relate to everyone. They see beauty in even lower vibrations because people are at all different levels. That's not good or bad. It's just where they're at, and it's tied into their ascension process. So it's not that someone's better than anyone else. It's just where you are at in your learning process. It was funny when I talked about the assassination, my light, I have a little light here, went out. So I found that was very interesting. I was just going to see if I could. I don't really think I need it, but I thought I was like, oh, there's a sign for you. Yes, it was lights out. And he takes full responsibility for everything that happened to him in his life. You draw these experiences to you, and it's all about learning your lessons. And he was grateful for that experience of being president, and even through the assassination and having that all taken away. Again, it's an opportunity for growth and his learning on the other side. So his goals are these wonderful fives, and these are in Aries energy. It's all about bringing things from the intangible and making it a physical reality. It's all about speech. This number, stepping out into your truth. He could have, when he was younger, been persecuted a little bit for speaking. He would know the truth. He wasn't somebody you could easily BS, although he would have a little bit every now and then, really knowing light from dark. This karmic ace would play in as when his spiritual energies open up. But this is really about stepping forward in your truth. It is gives you a lot of courage, pioneer energies. This is really, to me, tied into when he wanted us to go to the moon and was really wanting to explore those intangibles. You could see this is why, and this is all about being a real positive action person, and it's all about the power of speech. And one of his greatest speeches still people play, and it was ask not what, and this is one of the great things that was part of that speech, is ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And that is a very empowering statement. It's taking away any type of entitlement. I am owed this, I'm a victim, and saying, take your power back. And what can you do to make our country a better place? And that speech is really held true. That's real integrity, real truth coming forward. And so with that, the fives are all about freedom, and he wanted to bring this message to you, that freedom is a state of mind. Freedom is just not about the country you live in and the rules. I understand we have a lot of freedom here, but we have a lot of rules. And there's more countries that are much more restrictive, obviously, than we are. We have an idealistic view of our culture here. But freedom starts in the mind, and allowing yourself to be free and not getting bogged down by rules and regulations and those types of things. We're all free. Nobody can control us, even if they're trying to on the outside. And that's not about being rebellious in a negative way or anything, but it's about having the sense of freedom and taking ownership for that in your life and making your life joy and happy and having a lot of joy and happiness, because you have that right. That's your state of mind, and you control that. Your mind is just a tool. It is not meant for your ego to control it through negativity and keep you bogged down in negative thoughts. And so the next thing he did right away, he's like, he wants to talk about is to detach from drama and politics. It's okay to vote. It doesn't mean you have to withdraw. You can be a participant. He was obviously a president. He understands the system very well. But he says it's all about discernment with who you're voting for. And he wanted to talk about voting for the statesman, someone who's human and cares about everyone, not just their point of view and their constituents, remembering that we are all part of a whole and that we all want the basic same things, that we may have different ways of getting at them. So a book that I had read, Power versus Force by David Hawkins. I highly recommend that. I will put that book in the link below. Clearly lays out the difference between a statesman and a politician and how you can tell the difference. Some of those characteristics are whether do they act like they can solve all the problems, because no one can. No one has all the answers. And if people aren't open and honest about their humanity and their faults and their bad judgments, along with wanting to build something better, that should give you reason to pause. If they're using fear as a tool of motivation, that should give you reason to pause. So it's really coming back to your own discernment, your own critical analysis, going in the gut and making sure your heart is open. This is all about compassion. He had that wonderful, like I said, courageous pioneer energies, and he wants people to not drown in the drama of it, not make it like a soap opera every day where they're in the negative, letting the media, they're trying to sell papers, so they sensationalize everything. Just remember, people are just people, and they're trying to do the best job that they can do. So always give everybody the benefit of the doubt, is what he is saying to me now. So his spiritual energies, he has a lot of spiritual energies in this chart, which made me really understand a little bit about his role here. And his spiritual energies I could see coming through, because those kind of come in a little bit later, for him, probably a little bit sooner because he was a little bit higher on the consciousness scale. And so these eights are about grounding yourself in your expression in society and bringing down those higher levels of truth. Now, obviously, if it's in a karmic position, it's really about he was really being too involved in needing to be needed. And so that doesn't necessarily, that can get out of balance, and that can make you wanting to serve others and being very self-sacrificing. So we got two things going on here. We have this destruction of people, either self-destruction, other people trying to destroy you. And then you have this self-sacrificing and need to be needed energy. These eights are a light versus dark polarity going on here. It also makes him struggle a little bit with feeling his emotions and being able to express them. He had super talents to help offset that. And these talents also played an important role in his overall charts. This is the 12th 3. It's expansion, energy, love, ability to gain and expand knowledge. The 12s are all about love and harmony. And they're very super strong energies here. And these are great numbers to have this balance of frequency energies here to play off of against these eights, which can kind of pull you into a very negative place and make you a little bit depressed. And you can, then you have a little bit of his addiction issues coming in here. And so then you have this great 12-3, which gives him, like I said, the 12s were all about the very nurturing number, a thirst for knowledge. He really wanted to learn so much knowledge and to be able to share it and with everyone and grow. This is also very idealistic in a sense. The 3s are what we call the poverty to wealth number, and this is all about self-worth. So this is about inner self-worth. It's all about how you value yourself. And the 12 too, I wanted to mention is the act of love. And he was known as a womanizer, and we talked a little bit about excuse me, this sex and addictions, maybe to sex here, because he had. And the 12 can also be about multiple partners. So you have to really be careful. The 3 is also tied to sexual exploration. You just have to be careful about these numbers, because I have no judgment about that, multiple partners and those types of things. But you have to be careful about your energy when you're having multiple partners and being very intimate. You're taking on energy from other people through those acts of coercion, love. And so it can affect you. It can throw you out of balance. So the 3s are this wonderful labyrinth energy, communicating at a very deep level, very mastery, which he had about communicating those concepts out, making these great, tied in with the 5s of the goals, making these great speeches. And then he would make him very open to listening to others. And that's very important as a president, to be able to listen to other points of view and not be too rigid in your own set of beliefs. It's very difficult for all of us. We get very, as young children, projected onto us a set of beliefs that may or may not serve us. So he also, he was not locked into one philosophy with this number. And I think that was he seemed very open. He was much about bringing people together. He started off a little rough. I believe there was some warring going on. Remember, destruction of people, where he went, they tried to overthrow Fidel Castro's communist regime, and that was not successful. And then I think he learned from that and pulled back on that type of, and really, because then we ended up in this Cold War dilemma with Russia, and he was very instrumental in dismantling that. So he was learning, I feel, was learning his lessons, and that served us very well into being able to claim, and this is part of his goals here, the nines, and this particular aspect here is about him taking back his power, like I talked about, taking back your power and doing it with integrity. So that whole thing with the nuclear Cold War was about having power, but not using it to destroy people, maintaining your power and doing it with integrity. And he exhibited some great strength, which is from that number, and power and protection for that during that very, very difficult time. And so he also, the 12 threes can be somebody who just doesn't ever feel he has enough time. He had so much he wanted to get done. And obviously, there could have been something manifesting, as we know, there was an assassination, that he had this knowing that, and I'll tell you that he maybe had a sense of what was coming, very, if not, I'm not sure it would have been consciously, but very subconsciously, because he does have this great soul destiny, the 13-4, which we call the Christ consciousness energies. It's 13 is the divine feminine. This is a very wise, we all have a masculine and a feminine side. This is the divine feminine energy, being very creative, very flowing. Again, this is all about compassion and being very sensitive. And the 4s are all about trusting in the flow. And that would be, we call it the barren to fruitful number. And the more you trust in the flow of the universe, the more will flow to you. And so, again, this is a very idealistic number. It's a unity consciousness number. And I feel we can see some of that in a very difficult time when it was very much, again, I mean, we're always dealing with the duality. But we had, he wanted me to mention, there was a lot less spirit of this open spirituality talk that we do now, where we're all on YouTube. The light workers know they're not so much afraid of the persecution, and we're getting out there and talking to people about these energies, how to transmute a lot of this fear-based consciousness, fear-based energy that's projected on us as kids to kind of keep us in control, and keeping you into the matrix, wanting you to just, have the children build the house, be a consumer of just buy, and not have any sense of purpose in your life. So he said this is the 4th of the creative writing messages, was it's important to take ownership of your life. That was part of that message in the speech. What can you do for your country? What can you do for yourself to make, the better you make your life? There's nothing wrong with manifesting abundance or money. The more that you can manifest, the more you can do for others. So it's always about finding that balance. And, being, the 13-4, again, that was all about him radiating radiating his self to everyone, his true self. And we got real glimpses of that. I'm not saying that he said there were many masks that he wore, but there were times when he spoke, it was from the heart, and that's what resonates with people, and that's why it's remembered. So again, he was not perfect. He doesn't want to come across as being perfect. He was very human with these ego things he was dealing with. The 13-4 starts out as, and again, part of his whole mission here was to that whatever he decided as a goal for himself would be expanded to affect greater numbers of people. And obviously, being president affected great numbers of people all around the world. He would have been known. That is just wonderful. But it starts off with this deep mother wound. And we wanted to talk a little bit about his family and the projection of masks, and you need to behave a certain way to make us not look bad. We want, it was all about a little bit about money, power, and control. And he had 8 brothers and sisters, and there was a very maternal deprivation going on, and we call it the mother wound. You don't get the nurturing. Catholics were known for having these very large families, and it was very hard to have time to really nurture and be conscious with your children. And then we developed this. He had a real, the self-sacrificing, over responsibility, taking on other people's problems, the world's problems. And that was causing him a lot of back issues. That comes from the 9. You'll have a lot of back issues when you have a lot of life suppression and a lot of trauma tied. It's maternal deprivation. And it really you need some healing for that. That needs to be brought out in the open. And he had a sister that I mentioned before that they didn't even know what happened to her, because this is, again, a family that was very fear-based, driven by their beliefs. And again, he had a lot of guilt and shame associated with his behavior. And this would also be tied to this womanizing capability. It would draw in for him. He had Addison's. He had a lot of medical issues going on. And this is all brought on by your resistance and not becoming conscious of this and being able to transmute some of these very difficult things that obviously, even though he was raised in a very wealthy family, had all of these things laid out for him, that still didn't make this any easier. We all need love and nurturing, and to be good people, we need that nurturing aspect. He did a good job with this chart. I was really impressed when I saw it. He had such great creativity at his disposal. But again, as things really got very weighted down with him, his illnesses were getting more and more extreme. And then he ends up in this assassination, this total destruction of himself, not being able to heal and clear out the patterns. So again, it is not about a punishment. It's not that he didn't behave himself so that he got in trouble. It's all comes from our own inner guidance system, and we create our own reality. And he chose these karmas because he wanted those experiences he wanted to come here, and he was given these great talents to help him manage. And again, like I said, it's all about growing in consciousness and growing while you're here. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and I want to get to reading, getting back to some messages that, he's here, and I'm very thankful of that. I can really feel his energy, and he wants me to go first to this deck from Carolyn Myss. It's the Archetype. And so this is about our light and dark aspects. So Mr. Kennedy. Okay, what would you, Mr. President, what would you like to share? So he is picking what's called the Midas and the Miser. Now, to read it. Sometimes the camera doesn't want to really lock in. So the light side of this Midas miser is entrepreneurial or creative ability to turn anything to gold, delight in sharing life's riches. The shadow attributes of this Midas Miser card is hoarding money and emotions, obsessive fear of losing your wealth. And we see this a lot in the power struggle of politics, and that's why he wants to bring it up. It's about sharing, it's about not keeping everything for yourself or only for a small group of people and letting everyone else suffer. This is about creativity. That's a very lack of mentality when you have this hoarding of money and emotions. We're meant to express our emotions, and it leaves people with this very lack mentality, and they get wrapped into this obsessive fear of losing their wealth. And so they try to push these politicians, and they try to buy them because they're trying to keep control. And we want to definitely be looking at people who have more creative ability, who aren't stuck in these old fear-based ideologies, and we need to break out of that. And again, it has to be a balance. I'm not talking about things giving away everything. Understand there's a middle road here. It's okay to be conservative in some respects and progressive in others, and it's really important, he said, about balancing those. So the next, he was Catholic, and so I'm going to the Kyle Gray Keepers of the Light Oracle cards. I love these Kyle Gray. I work with a lot of the angels. I talked about Michael and Metatron and Mary Magdalene. What would you like to say? Okay, so we're talking to Shekinah, and she is the sacred self angel. And she says, unleash your spirit, express your gifts, dance to the sacred rhythm of life. And as JFK expressed a lot of his gifts through speech and through his creative abilities, he's encouraging you to unleash your spirit and express your gifts. This is a good time to do that, get into the flow of life, to not get weighted down again by the drama that's going on in the politics. It keeps you in this very negative mindset. They try to sensationalize to keep you watching every day. Some of the stations play the same thing over and over, and it's almost a form of brainwashing. My aunt actually said that to me recently, and that actually clicked with me. And he is saying the same thing. It's a cycle that you can't get over. It's out of your control. You vote for people, let them do their job. If they don't show the integrity and the gifts and the trust that you gave them, then you need to vote for a better person next time. There's no shame in it. That's all on them. You're voting for them in good faith and good trust, and that's what a democracy is all about. So next, we are going to go to the secret language of light by Denise Darby. I always put everything we pull in the description box below. And so this is, one came out here. Okay, this one, I'm not surprised. It's number 5, healing. And again, this was 5, him stepping out with those pioneer energies. Look at how bright this is. He was such a bright, shining light. Was he not that charismatic, just wonderful? When he spoke from the soul, you couldn't help but listen. Wonderful. But healing was really important, and healing was something that really he could have really used more of. So he wants me to go to the book in this particular one. Be illuminated by love and truth. Right now, healing is taking place to support your understanding of the gifts in your experiences. Weird or difficult circumstances can often be a fast-track path to your desires. Until we recognize subtle imbalances, the best way to clean up outdated beliefs is to have our buttons pushed. Buttons are created by continued attention to unbalanced thoughts, ideas, or beliefs. Every time we are reminded of or talk about a hurt, it pushes a button and reopens a wound that we are yet to heal. Wounds are created by mental, spiritual, and physical trauma. Poking at them will prolong the healing process. Leave them alone so balance can be restored and wholeness can return. Inspired action for healing may include seeing a therapist, consulting a medical professional, or spending time in the ocean. Focusing on what you love is also healing. All is perfect in every moment, even if we can't see it at the time. So if you're getting particularly triggered with politics, it's telling you there's some healing going on that you need to do. It's a sign, and we all have wounds. And instead of projecting it back onto other people, it's a great time to start reaching out and dig deeper, do some meditation. And so here's some ideas here. So write down the answers to any questions or what's being triggered that you can, that is triggering you, writing it down, and then feeling what needs to be healed. You can ask your soul for help. You'll be surprised if you meditate, the answers will come through. Talk to a friend. There's a lot of healing modalities out there, self-healing, counseling. It's okay. We all need support. John is saying he had super terrible back pain that is from taking on too much. You're basically breaking your back, taking on too much, not seeking help, trying to do too much on your own. So here's another thing you can do. Let go of any self-help material you no longer have use for. Give it to someone or donate it. If you need to heal in the future, the information and processes you need will come to you. Don't hoard out of fear. We just talked about that, right? With that Midas card. Don't be hoarding things out of fear. Let those things go and keep things that give you joy. So spend 5 minutes every morning doing something you love. When you add this to your daily life, everything else will flow with joy. Thank you for those wonderful messages. I'm getting asked to go to the Work Your Light Oracle card to go in deeper with people who are on their light paths, their light worker paths, like myself. Ooh, so transformation, things are changing at a cellular level, deep healing. So there is so much healing going on right now in the collective. It is amazing. And when he talked about the masks that he had to wear and was projected, and he really, and at that time in our history, like I said, there wasn't all of these spiritual healers. There's so many different modalities, and things are changing with us. He's saying it's such a wonderful time to be here, even though it seems very chaotic and very hard and a little bit divisive at times. Those all triggers are all there to help us heal. As the energy, as the frequency is rising, it brings out all of that unhealed trauma for us to process. So if you're feeling particularly challenged, please do a lot of self-care. He is going to have me go to the transformation page. And you can see how these messages are all tying together with the healing that he wasn't able to do, and how it continually and you can start healing at any time in your life. There is no age limit. You can do a lot of healings that will prolong your life, that will get you into a better state of mind and start making your life so much more joyful. There's no limits. You can be 90 years old and start this process and end up with some quality of life that is so much meaningful and aligned with you and living with purpose. So things, as we said, things are changing at a cellular level, deep healing. You are not who you were a year ago or who you will soon be. You are in between, emerging, half risen, half falling. Keep doing the work. You are transforming. You will look back at this time with awe. So much is happening in your inner world and within yourselves. It's time to release old ways of being that have kept you in fight, flight, freeze mode. To choose a new way of being where trauma is not the driving force. Old childhood patterns are rising up to be healed. As you allow yourself to observe them and feel them without attachment, they loosen their grip and fall away. You are being called to find new ways to self-soothe. Saturn and the Black Madonna and the African goddess Oshun influence this card. Saturn represents destruction and transformation. The Black Madonna represents the underground and all that has been cast aside. And Oshun represents the tender love of the original mother. Remember, we talked about that mother wound with JFK, that maternal deprivation, healing those things. Rethreading is happening, healing at the deepest of levels. While you are in this phase, don't put yourself under pressure to perform. He was under such pressure to perform. It really was a snowball what was going on with him. You may need to review your relationship with your body, perhaps even shifting your diet or exercise regime or getting energetic healing support. Again, those were not popular things back then. Those were really, at that time, I mean, even now they get, in my family, I'm a little bit of an outcast in that respect, but they still love me, and it isn't as rejected as it once was. So again, you may also need to consider some kind of emotional support. I do a lot of readings and divine healing sessions, and there's so many out there. The right one will come up for you when you need it. And so you may also need to consider some kind of emotional support, as I was saying, as issues from your childhood may come up to be healed. You are deeply loved. So please repeat after me. We'll do a little bit of a healing right here. He wants to just a small statement asking. It's so powerful. I allow myself to receive the deepest healing and transformation for change to happen at a cellular level. Please repeat that again. I allow myself to receive the deepest healing and transformation for change to happen at a cellular level. I'm going to go to my favorite, Archangel Metatron. I work with his energy a lot. He is the Rainbow Bridge Man, I call him. And this is Amanda Ellis's deck, a great teacher herself and channeler and color therapist. And she does these wonderful sprays that I love to help ground you and connect you. So let's see, what does John want to bring through? Archangel Metatron, please connect. Orange is the color. Sacral chakra, listening to your intuition, right? Connection and attunement. So let's connect. Bring down that energy through your sacral chakra area. And let's clear out all of those old patterns, those old negative ways of being. So let's see. Pulling this card is asking you to listen to Metatron's voice speaking directly to you here. I'm listening, Metatron. What do you have to say? Can you feel my joy? Can you feel my majesty? And can you feel me all around you in the simplest and most complex things? This is something JFK was saying. He had 8s and karma that makes people struggle feeling their feelings. They think they know what they're supposed. It goes through the mind with them. They think they know what they feel, but it's not a true feeling because they're not feeling it in their body. So he wants to remind the importance of feeling through the body. I am Archangel Metatron. I am not a stranger to any of you. I have been around each of you since your moment of birth and will be with you in this life till your moment of passing to whence you came. And yes, I am with you in the void between lifetimes as well. I am light, I am color. I'm universal power, love, wisdom, and illumination. You ask, how can you reach me? There is no mystery, no complexity. It is about reaching up while you are fully grounded and present in the moment. I will be there. Many of you are not aware that it is I that held you through the difficult days, I who pushed you to evolve and change. Sometimes you have doubted me and felt me absent, but I've always been there through the good times, through the hard times. I am always there with you. At times when you can't feel me connected via my orange flame, ask. It flows down on anyone who asks for it and attunes and connects you to me. I am already within you, and the orange light reminds you of that. It is a part of you, and it nourishes all levels, your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual bodies. Orange is a vibrant light made up of red tones of fire, passion, raw energy, action, and life force. Again, in his karmic nines, suppression of the life force, not making that connection, you have great pain in your lower back. It's a sign. It's your pain. Listening to your body will tell you a lot of emotional messages that you need to be listening to. Orange is a vibrant light made up of red tones of fire, passion, raw energy, action, and life force, as we had just said. Yet it also contains yellows and golds of joy, fun, sunshine, alchemy, and wisdom. Orange is the color of enlightenment and the ascension journey. To be surrounded by its vibration smooths your path, ignites your spiritual power, and illuminates your light. Hold your arms up to receive my light. Let it flow down your hands and arms, harnessing your healing ability and gifts. Let it flow into your throat so you speak with a spiritual voice of strength and truth. And allow the orange light to stream through you, a limitless supply. You don't need to cocoon yourself with my orange light. It is, like me, a dynamic, active energy that wants to move, create, heal, and produce results. It is always there as I am, reminding you of your true self that can and already has moved mountains and can do so again. Hold this card close to you when you wish to strengthen your connection to Archangel Metatron and feel him close around you. Wonderful messages. Thank you to Archangel Metatron and to President Kennedy. Our final mantra from the Matt Kahn Healing Mantra deck, our mantra for this reading, the one that you can take with you, is again balancing the brain. And it's I can be and do all at once. Again, JFK got bogged down with doing too much, not being able to sit in that power of Archangel Metatron. But we can be and do all at once. We are multidimensional beings. And so he wants us to remind us of that great powers, like he had that great 9-9 powers of great integrity, great power and protection. So with that, I think that was our last mantra for this healing session and giving you all of the wonderful messages from Jeff K. I'm asking him if he's letting you know that the masks are coming off, not just from the pandemic, but from taking them off to expose who we really are. And he's really excited for us to see that. And he is supporting us on the other side. He is healed and back to wholeness and is enjoying all of the channelers and people who are connecting with him. So again, you have the capability of connecting with anybody that I'm connecting to. I don't have any special gifts. It takes some meditation, listening, very, very, if this is something you want to do, please pursue. There's a lot of people who teach. I've learned from many of my teachers as well, mentors. It's been really fun starting to develop this and share this capability. So please like, share, and subscribe so that this video gets out to the people who need to hear it. JFK wants to wish everybody a great 4th of July. It's to stay safe, but still have fun. And I wish you guys much love, and to make sure that you spend a moment in the mirror and say those 3 words I always tell you: I love you. That self-love is so important. So take care, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks, JFK.